Okay, so we are in Florida, the most southerly state in the US. And starting from Orlando, we're heading down to the Florida Keys, with our final destination being Key West. Getting there, however, takes a bit of a drive. 393 miles from Orlando to Key West, with the last 70 taking the longest. Starting at Key Largo, the Keys are an archipelago of small islands, all connected by a series of bridges, and all along US Route 1. There must be a dozen, if not more, of these bridges, all linking the islands together. The longest is what's called the 7 Mile Bridge. Now, we didn't get out and measure it, but I'm sure it's 7 miles. You're seeing a little bit of it right now. Passing island after island, there's plenty to look at, and it's actually a pretty fun trip. Back at the turn of the 20th century, a chap called Henry Flagler linked all the islands together with a railroad, with the train. Completed in 1912, it survived until 1933, but finally succumbed to the hurricanes. But a brave effort nonetheless. Remnants of the viaducts and bridges are still visible, and you can spot them down the side of the main highway that exists today. And then finally, the road leads straight into Key West. So here we are, nice little hotel, very friendly, very suitable for us, especially having just spent a week in Orlando. So, Key West, Duval Street, Main Street, main drag, up and down the bottom end of the island quay. The Old Strand movie house, well, not a movie house any longer, probably more to pity, but a Walgreens. Oh dear, 24-hour Walgreens, as Janet says. Oh well, at least the building's still there. So Janet's been searching for a Conch Republic t-shirt. Well, we'll get to the Conch Republic later, but the conch shell, as you can understand, is pretty important down here. And good eating too. Didn't find what you were looking for?
Still looking.
Back in 1982, the US set up a border control leading to the Keys to prevent drug running and illegal immigration. Well, obviously, the locals were not at all happy about this and decided to secede away from the US and declare war, then calling itself the Conch Republic. The war only lasted for a minute, with the mayor of Key West bashing a US naval officer over the head with a loaf of stale Cuban bread, and then finally giving in. But of course, with all the publicity, it did wonders for the local tourist trade. Oh, and Janet did eventually get her t-shirt. She found that, and a couple of others as well. This one's for you, Elliot. Well, it's not a real train, but good fun anyway, and we are going to take a trip on it. Apparently it's a good way to get to know the island. Yeah, another beautiful old building. Looking a little sad and tragic, but hey, again, it's still there, which is the important thing. Now, as I said earlier, oh look who's that. Woohoo! As I said earlier, this is Duval Street, which is like the kind of main drag. Well, again, like some of the buildings, a little sad and tragic. It's the tourist spot. It's it's like Bourbon Street in New Orleans and many other tourist trap streets around the world. Fun, but only fun once. You don't worry about coming back too much. Anyway, on we go. A little more old style Key West. Still on Duval Street, but this looks like it's been here forever. Well, in an effort to stimulate the tourist industry, they have welcomed in all the cruise ships. Well, and yeah, it doesn't do much for the skyline. I'm going to let Janet have the last word on this.
I am so sad. Not only did they relocate Mallory Square a block south, but now they let these behemoths dock here and obstruct the view. Damn you, Royal Caribbean. Whatever boat that is.
She's not happy.
I am not happy. This is my last trip to Key West.
Still, some of the locals don't seem to mind. Feral chickens. Well, the chickens were everywhere. Wherever you looked, there was more chickens. I have to say, they look very pretty chickens. Good for eating, but you're not allowed. They're protected. Local coffee shop. Strong coffee. Blows your socks off, this stuff. So, with a good cup of coffee under the belt, off to a museum and art gallery, the Custom House. We'll explain more as we go. Interesting place, interesting sculpture in front of it. Well, it was built in 1888 and was used as such until the 1930s. Then it was converted into a naval barracks until eventually abandoned in 1974 and pretty much left to rot. When in 1990, the local Historical Society acquired it and turned it into the museum and art gallery that it is today. Unfortunately, like many other museums, they wouldn't allow me to take any pictures inside. Oh well. So moving on, it's lunchtime! Kong fritters for lunch. They're the local delicacy. And I have to say, they're pretty splendid.
Especially with key lime mustard sauce.
Well, depending on how you look at it, this is the beginning of US Route 1. Or is it the end of US Route 1? As I said, depends how you look at it. Anyway, as you know, America doesn't just have interstates and motorways. It has all the roads sectioned up into routes. You'll have heard of Route 66. Route 41 is the route that goes around Lake Michigan back home. But anyway, this bottom of Key West is mile 0 of Route 1. Something it's famous for down here. Back in the day, and even today, Key West has always been a refuge for artists of all kinds of genres, and this is one of them. So today, Tennessee Williams. Well, as you probably already know, probably America's most famous and certainly prolific playwright. Boy, did he ever write some stuff. Well, some of which I know, but not all of it, by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, look at this list. That is a lot of plays. Anyway, interesting chap. And probably not a person you know much about. But you will certainly recognise some of the names of the plays. Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, Glass Menagerie, Streetcar Named Desire. Certainly all have heard of that. Anyway, so here we go. And, well, we are inside this model of this house. Cool model. Well, not only did he write plays, full length and one actors, he painted as well. However, has to be said, personally I think he should have stuck to his day job. But hey, So Key West has a lot of picturesque little buildings, and look at that in the distance, a lighthouse. Now we're talking. So the Key West Lighthouse was built in 1847, and it replaced an original wooden tower that was destroyed the previous year by a hurricane. The present location is 14 feet above sea level and was chosen to protect the new tower from a similar fate. This tower was constructed of brick and was 66 feet high. It had a fixed white light, and in 1894 20 feet were added to bring it to its present height. The three red sector panels, which you can't actually see, were a code signifying dangerous approaches to the harbour. Well, the lighthouse here at Key West. 98 steps to the lamp at the top. Oh, I don't think I should be doing that today. Anyway, the lamp at the top's been replaced by a metal halide, so not an original. Never mind. No mercury bath to worry about. Having said that, the spiral staircase is really cool. Look at that. Isn't that splendid? So, there we go. That's what was used originally to light the lamp. And then acetylene, and now just good old electricity. How about that for a lens, eh? Slightly bigger Fresnel lens that I use. Yeah, there's a bigger one we've yet to see. Now that is a lens.
1858 plus $20,000.
Well, we'll go into detail as to how all this lot works another time, because it's actually a pretty long story. A lot to explain how the physics of these lenses work. As I say, that's for another day. Let's just have fun looking at them, eh?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Elliot. Hi, Jude. Special shout out to you guys. We are at the Ernest Hemingway House here in Key West, home of the polydactyl cat colony and former home of possibly the finest writer in the English language. Yeah.
Maybe.
Now she knows you have the treats.
Yeah.
Daisy! Well, that didn't work, did it? Well, plenty more cats where that cat came from. Okay, so Ernest Hemingway's house and home. Some may recognise it from a Bond movie, A Licence to Kill, with Timothy Dalton. However, Hemingway and his polydactyl cat colony are probably more important. A Farewell to Arms, The Old Man on the Sea, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Oh gosh, the list just goes on and on. From all accounts, he was a bit of a Jack the Lad. Anyway, that's probably another complete story in itself. It's his cats that I'm really fascinated by. Look at these beauties. This is Miss Daisy Buchanan. She's a little more unusual than most, as she has 24 toes. 6 on each paw, which apparently is pretty unusual even for one of these types of cats, as they generally only have them on the front paws. And here's another. Just look at the size of those feet. Another 6-toed cat. Can Auntie Janet show you off your tootsies?
No, I'm not gonna.
No.
No, because that'll make him unstable and he'll fall off.
Adds a whole new meaning to the term cat house.
doesn't have 6.
Are you not a polydactyl? No, I'm bored. Well, I don't want to be messed with. Well, all cats have to go somewhere. And this apparently is it. So let's get back to the main reason why we're actually here. At the rear of the main house is a little 2-story outhouse, and upstairs is Ernest Hemingway's writing studio. Apparently this is where it all happened.
Check out the original Royal on the table. Jude, Elliot, that's what's called a typewriter.
Yes.
That's what people wrote on before they had computers.
Well, the office was upstairs in an outbuilding built by his first wife, Pauline Pfeiffer, who later went on to destroy his boxing rink and in the garden to replace it with a pool. Sensible lady. So let's leave with this magnificent fellow. Haha, looks pretty fearsome, doesn't he? Okay, well, lunch. What's the name of this place? First Flight. This was where one trip started Pan American Airlines back in the day. Can't remember the exact date. It was a while back. Anyway, it's a restaurant now, but this is where he started it. And I believe the first flight was a trip over to Cuba, which of course is only 90 miles in that direction. Well, 91 miles from here, alright. Anyway, we've got scallops to start with. I'm having fish tacos, and Janet's having black bean burger. So, all good stuff. How's the
charred corn salsa with chorizo is lovely.
There we go.
And the risotto.
How's that tasting?
It's
Delicious.
splendid. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Isn't that nice?
That's lovely. Anyway, we're going to get on with lunch now. Sorry you can't be with us. So the tour guide on the little train that we took yesterday gave us a lovely explanation about these trees. He called them tourist trees. You may well ask why. Well, because they are red and peeling, hence tourist tree. And well, to be honest, that could be me today. And Janet's just turning into a shrimp. Well, we're heading to a little White House, which was Harry S. Truman's version of Camp David. Anyway, it's just down the road here, and here are its gates, and in we go.
A historical marker at the Little White House. Built in 1890 as quarters for Navy officers, the Little White House later was used by American presidents William Howard Taft, Harry S. Truman, shouldn't have a period there, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Jimmy Carter, and Bill Clinton. Truman used the facility as a vacation home and functioning White House between 1946 and 1952. National legislation was drafted and official government business was conducted daily from the site. Perhaps the most important of these actions occurred on December 5th, 1951, when Truman enacted a civil rights executive order requiring federal contractors to hire minorities. Important thing. The house is considered the birthplace of the U.S. Department of Defense and the U.S. Air Force as the result of the Key West Accords of 1948. President Eisenhower used the site in 1956 while recuperating from a heart attack and played a lot of golf here, not on the grounds, but here in Florida. And in 1961, the house was a venue for a summit between President Kennedy and British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan during the Bay of Pigs incident. Kennedy returned in '62 after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Secretary of State Colin Powell and foreign leaders held an international summit here in 2001. The Little White House was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974.
Unfortunately for us, this is still a presidential residence, an active one, which means they won't let me take pickies or any video inside until we get to the end. Well, no pictures inside the museum. It's still apparently a working presidential kind of building. So, who knew? I didn't know. Anyway, so pretty good tour. Worth the trip. Interesting stuff. I am allowed to take pictures here though. So there you go. Well, this was the fellow we've been talking about. Probably recognise him. Harry Truman. He was the guy who actually pulled the trigger on the atomic bomb. So, not sure if that's such a good claim to fame. So, after all that, we did get to do a lot of walking around, and a fine little place Key West is. We did get a little ride on the train, haha, and that was fun too. The harbour, the little docks, all the little establishments along the way. Lots of fun, including a little bit of architecture. A good friend of ours here in Chicago, Aileen Dimery, grew up here between the ages of 6 and 16 at 525 Caroline Street. Although having said that, she would probably be sad to see what Key West has become these days. Well, it's our last evening in Key West, and, well, we couldn't go out without a bang. So it's going to be a messy-fingered, fishy feast for dinner tonight at Bo's Fish Wagon. The place has quite the reputation, apparently. Well, let's go in and have a look. Well, quite a menu. We both ended up with fried grouper sandwiches, which were rather delish, with all the trimmings, you understand. But there was plenty to choose from, and of course conch fritters to start. Had to be done. Anyway, a good jolly evening, and a great time was had by all. And when we left, the place was really starting to buzz, as you can see. Oh well, relatively early night tonight. Long day tomorrow, travelling back to Chicago. Vans all packed, so it's time to hit the road. We've got a lot of distance to cover, but one or two little things to see on the way first. Well, this is America's version of Land's End, the most southerly point of the continental USA. Next stop, Cuba, only 90 miles away. Now, Janet's heading up the driving this morning to Miami. I'm riding shotgun and shooting with a camera, of course. Leaving Key West, we're heading north on US 1, all the way up to Miami. Now we can see some of the remnants of Henry Flagler's railway system and the viaducts and bridges that he built. All crumbling, but amazing pieces of Victorian engineering nonetheless. And then it's out onto the 7 Mile Bridge again, a long straight road. Seems to go on without end, but it does end eventually, and for us it's going to end in Miami. Well, we've had a great few days down here, I have to say, and really enjoyed ourselves, which is great, and I hope you've enjoyed watching along with us. With luck, our ride in the sky back to Chicago will be waiting for us in Miami, and we'll see you all soon.